Yes, I was just wondering, with all the villains you've created, which one was your favorite and why?
That's a good question. With all the villains you've created, which villain was your favorite and why?
Well, I think maybe Dr. Doom.
Ooh, yeah.
Because I like the sound of the name, Dr. Doom. And also, he was the king of his own country, Latveria. By the way, I'm very proud of Latveria. I made that name up. And you can't tell me it doesn't sound like a real country. People who tell me they looked it up on the map, they're so convinced there is a Latveria. But another thing I like about Doc, he's king of his country, so if he comes here to America, if he does something bad, he can't get arrested. He's got diplomatic immunity. How many other villains can say that?
You know a great restaurant in Latveria?
In the middle.
See, you think there's a country.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize there was a center mic. I can't see anything either, so. Right here.
Good evening, Mr. Lee. Thank you. I have a very silly question.
I'll give you a silly answer.
I'm from New York, and a lot of us in New York have wondered, because we haven't been able to be clear on it. Is Spider-Man a Yankees fan or a Mets fan?
Oh, snap.
Is Spider-Man a Yankees fan or a Mets fan, since he's from New York?
I'd love to be able to answer that, but as many times as I've had meetings with him, we've never discussed that subject. He's always worried about Doc Ock and the vulture and the lizard. We never have time to talk about sports. But if I have to give an answer, I think he'd be a Yankee fan.
Oh, he's a Yankee fan.
I'm happy you really like that answer. All right, just to catch up a little bit, we'll take one more from the center.
Are we falling behind?
Well, no, because we were missing the center. I didn't know there was 3 mics. Go ahead.
Mr. Lee, I've been a fan of Spider-Man ever. My question for you is, since it's in his inception in '62, what do you think about his progress, growth to nowadays? You know,
Since Spider-Man's inception in 1962, what do you think about the progress, growth of the character to present day?
Oh, I think it's been wonderful. He's probably become one of the most famous superheroes. He's right up there with Superman and Batman, and they started way ahead of him. Maybe he's even more famous, I don't know. But I know every Halloween, and you check it out when Halloween comes around soon, they sell more Spider-Man costumes for kids than anything else.
True.
We've been very lucky. Spider-Man has turned into a whole industry, really. I mean, young kids like him, grown-ups like him. People come over to me, men, and they say, Stan, I just want to thank you for Spider-Man. He made my childhood happy. I think, wait, you know him? But anyway, they say that. So I would have to say, I think I forget the question, but if it was how do I feel about Spider-Man's progress, I'm very happy about it.
Yeah.
thank you very much.
All right, let's go right over here.
Alright, this is a pretty vague question, I guess, but as the amazing artist you are, to any, I guess, artists, other people, like your fans and stuff, if they're like not very motivated with their art, what do you suggest?
What sort of suggestions do you have of motivation for aspiring artists?
Well, you know, that's tougher than it sounds. You've got to, if you're talking about a comic book artist, that I assume you are, you've got to be able to have good visual taste and be able to judge artwork. Now, the reason for that is, if you want to be a comic strip artist, you've got to know if your drawings are as good or better than the artists who are already appearing in comic books. Because it's very logical. Marvel and the other companies, they have very fine artists doing their strips. Now, if they want to hire a new artist, that guy has to be better than whomever they're using, or at least as good if they don't have enough artists. But if your work isn't as good as what's out there, You've got to keep practicing and practicing until it is. And that's why I say you've got to have a good eye. So many people who want to do artwork, they tend to fool themselves a little. They draw something, it looks kind of nice, and they say, oh wow, this is great, they'll love it. But it may not really be as good as what's being done. So the most important thing, you've got to be a good critic of your own work. And when you feel that your artwork is as good as they're using in the books now, or hopefully even a little better, then you go and send it to the art director, and he'll probably respond very enthusiastically, because they're always looking for new artists, good artists.
Good answer.
It's the most serious I've ever been.
I was there was no joke in there anywhere. That was great. Let's go right now.
Hi Stan, I was wondering, out of all the Marvel characters you've ever created, which one do you think's changed the most over the years?
Which one?
Out of all the Marvel characters that you've created, which one do you think has changed the most over the years?
Well, you know, they've all changed a lot. I found out the other day that there's now a red Hulk and a blue Hulk. I'll be honest with you, I don't have time to read the comics. Believe it or not, I do not read the comics. And I haven't for a few years, so I don't even know what's going on. I look at the covers sometimes, the Marvel covers. Not that the others aren't good, but again, I don't have time. At Marvel, they send me the books all the time. So I try to glance through the covers, and I gotta tell you, I think the covers are fantastic. Some of them look like fine art, the type of things that would hang in a museum, or they look like great advertisements, the way they're laid out. But other than that, I can't really tell you about what's happening with the characters.
Sorry. Right here.
I have a question about the new Avengers movie. Are they going to have more Avengers?
Are there going to be more Avengers movies?
Are you kidding?
Like more Avengers, like in the movie.
Oh, more Avengers in the movie. Yeah, you addressed that earlier.
Yeah, there'll be,
Which one?
well, of course, the Black Widow and Hawkeye, but they're adding a few more. I forget which they are now, but every time they have a character they want to promote, they'll put them in the Avengers, or her in the Avengers, so that you get a whiff of them and you get used to them, and then eventually they'll all get their own movies. They have such a slate of production schedule, you wouldn't believe it. They're even working on an Ant-Man movie. And of course the Doctor Strange, Black Panther, and Humans, on and on.
Yeah.
Submariner.
That finally, it's about time that Submariner gets it. Right over here.
Okay, first off, I'd like to say it is an honor to ask you a question.
Thank you.
Out of all the characters that you've created, is there one that got so popular that you were a little bit surprised by it?
Oh, that's a good question. Out of all the characters that you worked on, was there one that got more popular than you expected it to get? Like maybe that was just a real phenomenon and you weren't...
Well, I'll answer that, but I think you were very tactless. I heard you say, that's a good question. Now, does that imply that the other questions have not been good? What was the question again?
Out of all the characters, I love doing this. This is so great. Out of all the characters that you helped create, was there one that became more popular than you expected it to get? Like, was there one that was just a phenomenon that you didn't think, I didn't think that one would catch on?
Honestly, no.
You knew they would all be hits.
No, I didn't know they'd all be hits. Every time we did a new book, every time I came up with a new idea and I gave it to Jack or Steve or Gene or Bill Everett or whoever I gave it to, or Don Heck, I hoped it would sell well. And when they did sell well, I was delighted. But I don't think any of them surprised me more than the other. Frankly, I'm my biggest fan. I thought they were all good. And even Sergeant Fury. And didn't we do Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. as a book? Yeah, I love that also. No, I loved everything. I was never surprised.
Yeah. So you knew. That's great. Okay. Right over here. Sign of a good creator. You know it's going to be good. Right over here.
How many ladies in costume have flashed you? I just feel like
I'm not going to say this is a good question. I'll leave that up to you. How many ladies in costume have flashed you? You tell me. Is that a good question?
Well, it got a lot of laughs, so I'd say it's a great question. I'm hearing laughs. If by flash you mean they somehow took off part of their costume to reveal parts of their anatomy? That has not happened to me.
So there are 2 more days of the show. It's a family show. Family show.
People do come over to me, which is a hell of a surprise, men and women. At every convention, it happens at least a few times, and would I sign my name on their arm or leg or any part of the body so that they could have it tattooed. So with some of them, requesting the signature is the closest thing to what you said, which I'm not going to mention, because like you said, we may have some young children in the audience.
So you didn't sign any boobs? No, I'm just kidding.
You're right here. We might have an audience of nothing but young children. I can't see.
Right here.
So obviously, through your career, you've been a huge success, and there's been a lot of momentum, especially in the last 10 years with comic books in general. Is there one moment, and maybe there's many, other than being here with us today, that is the defining moment where you said, this has made everything worth it for me?
Okay, so you've had a lot of success through the years, but out of everything that's happened, was there one moment that was for you a defining moment that you felt like this made everything worth it?
No. No, I'm very serious. I just kept going along doing what I did, and the book started selling well, and I was happy. I was too busy to think about defining moments. There was so much to do all the time. There still is. Every moment was a defining moment in a sense. But in all honesty, I can't think of any one time when I said, wow, I never expected this, this is great. Anything that was great, I always expected. Hell, I was doing it.
The correct answer was this Q&A session. Right over here.
Erase my answers.
I was wondering, why did Gwen Stacy have to die?
Oh. Why did Gwen Stacy have to die?
I did not kill her. I had already killed her father, Captain Stacy, in what I thought was a tremendously dramatic story. After that, I forget exactly what happened, but I think I became publisher, and I had to travel around a lot for Marvel. I didn't write any more stories, and I was promoting the books and going to conventions and things like that. And the next thing I knew, I heard that Jerry Conway had killed Gwen. He was the writer. And I thought to myself, it'll look as if we had a vendetta against that family. I did not kill her. I did not particularly want to kill her. I thought it was really interesting that Peter would have this rather sweet blonde as a girl that he loved, and then he would meet Mary Jane, who had much more of a zippy personality, and he'd fall for her too. And I figured I'd figure out a way to settle that someday when I came back. But Jerry settled it for me, and that was it.
Your Honor. Right over here.